Hey guys, Miss Cook here. Let's talk about expanded form. You've been doing this since second grade, actually, and just now we're starting to add in this decimal. So let's talk about one that would be familiar. In the past, you would have had a number like 234, and the way we write expanded form is we are going to stretch out each of these place values. Okay, so we're going to look at each numeral, each digit, think about what the value of that number was, and stretch it out into an expression. So I'm going to start in my largest place value. That 2 represents 200, so I would have written 200 plus. Then I move to my next place value, would be my tens place. That 3 represents 30. And then my last place value I have here, my last digit is a 4, and the value of that 4 is just 4. It's in my ones. So that's what it looks like with a whole number. I look at each of these digits and I decide what the value is. Say it would have been 204. Okay, in this case, same way I would have started with my 200. That 2 stands for 200. I do not have any tens, so I'm going to skip that place because I don't have anything in the tens place to add, and then I would go to my ones. So it would be 200 plus 4. Okay, so let's apply what we've done in the past to what we are doing here in fifth grade. So look at this number, 2 and 34 hundredths. I put this in the place value chart because this can really help us write this. So when I'm thinking about my largest numeral place value here, it's my 2. It's in my ones place. So if I was going to write the expanded form for this, I would put 2 plus. Now, this 3 is in my tenths place. If I pulled it out by itself, that number would look like this, right? So that's what I'm going to add to my 2. I have 2 and I have 3 tenths, okay? And my last digit is my 4 over here in the hundredths place. And so if I were going to write that numeral by itself, it would look like this. I would have zeros holding the place of the tenth and holding the place of the ones. So that's how I would write this last part. So if I put those pieces back together in reverse, I would start with I know I have 3 place values here, okay? And I start with my 4 in my hundredths. I would place my 3 in the tenths, and I would have my 2 in the ones place. So all I'm doing is splitting this number apart by any of the numerals that are in the number and describing what value they are with an expression. Okay, let's try another one. This number does not have a ones digit. I would read this number as 65 hundredths. So if I want to break this number apart to show it in expanded form, I'm not going to be able to start with my ones because I have nothing there. My largest place value I have right now is my tenths, and there is a 6 there, so the value of that 6 is 6 tenths. So again, remember, I'm going to write it as if it was by itself. Okay, so I will do 6 tenths plus, the other digit is a 5. It is in the hundredths place. If I were to write that by itself, I would have zeros holding the place of the ones and the tenths, and I have a 5 in the hundredths place. So that's how I would write that. So the expanded form of 65 hundredths is 6 tenths plus 5 hundredths. Again, I could check this by putting my place value marks there. I have no ones. I have a 6 in the tenths place, and I have my 5 in the hundredths place. Here's one other way that you might have to work with expanded form. In this case, you are given the expanded form and expected to write it in a regular base 10 numeral. That just means in a number how we would normally see. So if I have an expanded form expression to work from, I'm going to look at my largest place value. My largest place value is this 3. That stands for 3 ones. So I would put that 3 in my ones place. Okay. Now, I see there's a decimal in the next numeral that I have in the next place value. So I'm going to go ahead and put that decimal in. And then I'm going to look. My next place value after the decimal is tenths. Is there a numeral in the tenths place? There's not. I'm only seeing a 0 and a 400ths. So I can tell there are no tenths and I have 400ths. Again, I could double check with looking at my 3 place values here. I know I have a ones place. I see my decimal. I have no tenths represented anywhere, and I have 400ths. All right, hope that helps, and let's get some practice in with that. Okay, here's a page that we can practice with. Let's look at our first one. I see 3 place values here. Okay, and remember we start with our largest. Do I have any ones in this number? I do not. So I'm moving right to my next place value, which is my 8. Thinking about my place value chart, I can write this number out of my place value chart to help me, but I know this 8 is in the tenths place. So starting there, I would write this as 8 tenths plus, remember I can only do one numeral and its value at a time. So I had no ones, I had a tenths. How many hundredths do I have? I have 9 hundredths. So I know I have 9 hundredths. I have to put the 0 in, and I have to use that placeholder for where that 8 was. So I have 8 tenths and 9 hundredths, and they go together to make 89 hundredths. You see you have a couple in reverse here and a couple more to write out in expanded form.